Hey there! Did you know Kroger always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices? And when you download the Kroger app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Kroger today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
The Two-Footed Podcast is brought to you by EPLindex.com and our presenting sponsor, Liberty Shield. Liberty Shield is a VPN provider. A virtual privacy network allows you to go online, change your location, access things you're geo-blocked from, while keeping your data safe. So, as an example, if you are a UK expat and want access to BBC iPlayer to watch Match of the Day, or ITV Hub, or all four, but you get that message that says this content is not available in your location, a Liberty Shield VPN gets you around that block, allows you to watch whatever you want on those services while also keeping your data safe. And it goes further than that. It allows you to open up Netflix's entire library by just changing your IP address. Liberty Shield is the #1 rated VPN provider on Trustpilot with 5-star ratings across the board. So go to libertyshield.com right now, use the code EPL25 and get either the hardware package or the software package. The hardware package is a router that you plug into your existing router, and any item you want to change the IP address on, be it your phone or your television, you connect that to the new Liberty Shield router. All other items can remain connected to your existing router. There's also a software package which is instantly downloadable to your device and you can get using straight away. Again, libertyshield.com, EPL25 for 25% off at checkout. We're also brought to you by Home of Hopcroft, a giftware and homeware company located in Scotland but shipping worldwide. Check out homeofhopcroft.co.uk and do check out the EPL Index and Anfield Index shops, which you'll find on Etsy. Use the codes EPL10 or RED10 for 10% off at checkout. And lastly, do remember to check out A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. That podcast is on this feed before every Premier League match week. And then the EPL Roundtable, hosted by Kevin DeVries, on its own EPL Roundtable feed. So just search EPL Roundtable in your podcast device. And that's out after every match week. Now, on with the show. What's good, boys and girls? Two-Footed Podcast. Today is Friday, the 5th of April. Hope you're all well and having yourself a pleasant day. It started out as an absolute minger of a day, but the sun has made an appearance, so my mood has improved. My cough that I had earlier this morning has also gone away, so that's good too. Liverpool 3, Sheffield United 1 in the Premier League last night made me joyous. Liverpool go back to the top of the Premier League. Darwin Núñez put them 1-up on 17 minutes. Pressing, chasing down Ivo Grbić as he tried to clear it. I think it hit him in the gooch and it bounced into the net. So we'll take it. Liverpool 1-up at half-time. 58 minutes, a rare Sheffield United adventure into the Liverpool half. James McAtee does very well. Cuts back in his left foot, floats a gorgeous cross in. Gus Hammer, who's about 5'7", has made a run completely unmarked into the Liverpool penalty area, tries to head it back across goal, I assume to Jayden Bogle, who was coming in. Instead, it hit Conor Bradley and deflected into the Liverpool net. Sheffield United had something to cling to, and they did try their best to cling to it, but Liverpool made changes, and those changes paid off. 76 minutes, Alexis McAllister with an absolute worldie from the edge of the box. And on 90 minutes, Cody Gakpo wrapped it up with a really good header off a great Andy Robertson cross. Liverpool absolutely good value for the win. 83% of possession, which is a Premier League record. 90% pass accuracy on 786 passes is ludicrous, to be quite honest. And 13 corners to 1. Liverpool dominant in the game, fully deserving of the win. Personally would have liked it to be a bit more straightforward and would have liked a few more goals just for the goal difference. But it's a win, and the win is all Liverpool need. They just need to win their games. If they win their games, they will win the league. And really and truly, that's all that matters at this point. So Liverpool go top and Sheffield United stay bottom. Liverpool 2 points clear of Arsenal across the 30 games thus far. A further point clear of Manchester City and 4 goals better off than City. So that's promising as well. In the other game, this was a madness. An absolute madness. I still don't understand how this game went the way it did. 4 minutes in, Malo Gusto breaks down the right-hand side after Kobe Mainoo gives the ball away cheaply. Gusto's cross is deflected by Rafael Varane back towards the edge of the United penalty area. Conor Gallagher adjusts his run, takes a touch. It's not a great shot, if we're being honest. It's fairly tame, and it's not in the corner. I think the goalkeeper should do better, but Chelsea are 1-up. 19 minutes in, Marc Cucurella makes a burst into the box. Anthony kind of clips his heels. Player goes down, penalty given. No real arguments against this one. Cole Palmer sticks it in the bottom corner and sends the goalkeeper the wrong way. 34 minutes in, Moises Caicedo wins the ball back and then plays a blind pass to where he assumes Badiashile will be, but Badiashile is not standing in the right spot for Caicedo. Garnacho nips onto it, runs away and finishes really well. 39 minutes, it's 2-2. Really good ball into the back post. Bruno Fernandes, perfectly timed run, good header back across goal, and we have a draw match on our hands. And to be honest, over the course of the first half, a draw was probably about right. Chelsea might have edged it just ever so slightly. Into the second half then, Chelsea on the ascendancy, United break, Anthony plays an outrageously good pass with the outside of his left foot, bending it into the box. Garnacho is really brave and dips his head to get to the ball. I think the goalkeeper's made a mistake here, though. I think he's come off his line far too far. I think if he holds his position and forces Garnacho to try and control the ball, I think he can still come out and smother it, but he doesn't, and he makes it quite easy for Garnacho. But huge credit to Garnacho for bravery. 3-2 Manchester United, and it looked like it was going to end 3-2. Chelsea huffed and puffed, but they weren't blowing down anyone's house. And then United just decided to light their own house on fire. 98 minutes in, Noni Mudeki, who'd been hopeless since he came on, picks the ball up, drives past a very tired Diogo Dalot, drives into the box. Dalot puts his hand on him and then trips and falls, and Mudeki goes down. My feeling on this, because the VAR took a long time with this one, my feeling on this is if the referee doesn't give it, the VAR doesn't send them to the screen. But there's not enough of a clear and obvious error because, number one, he did put his hand on him. And number two, the angle seemed a little bit inconclusive as to whether there was further contact. It didn't look like there was, but there may have been. But 100 minutes into the game, Cole Palmer steps up, puts it in the exact same spot as the first one, and Onana goes in the exact same direction as the first one. So you think, okay, 3-3. You know what? That's fair. Both sides deserve a point. But United they just can't help themselves. They kick off and they go on the attack. Chelsea take the ball off them and head down the other end and win a corner. Now, it's 101 minutes into the game. You've given everything. All you need to do is defend one more set piece. And United switch off completely. I'm not sure what went through their collective minds, but none of it was good. Palmer is left in acres of space to run over and receive the ball from Enzo Fernandez inside the United box, I might add, with about 6 to 8 yards of space in all directions. Takes a touch. Mason Mount makes a half-arsed attempt to get across, doesn't commit to trying to block the shot. Palmer shoots. It's a weak, tame shot. It's going to be saved very easily by Onana. It's the shot of a very tired player. And for whatever reason, Scott McTominay decides, I'm going to try and block this, leans across into the path of the ball and deflects it with his arm into the back of the net. And it's 4-3 Chelsea. Now, I saw Chelsea manager Mauricio Pochettino and players and staff get criticised for how they celebrated the win. You'd celebrate that win like that too if you were 3-2 down that deep into stoppage time and somehow pulled out a win. You just would. That's not the same as when Arsenal are celebrating a random league win that they've won 3-0. It just isn't. Big win for Chelsea. Bad loss for United. Not in terms of who they were playing, because Chelsea have a lot of talent, just in terms of how the game played out. So United are 6th. They are 9 points behind Spurs and 11 points behind Aston Villa. Top 4 looks really unlikely for Manchester United right now. Chelsea have moved up into 10th place. So congratulations to Chelsea. £1 billion spent, and you're just about in the top half. They're level on points with Brighton with a worse goal difference, a point ahead of Wolves, 2 points ahead of Bournemouth. And I should have said they're a point behind Newcastle and 2 behind West Ham. So they're right in that kind of 7th to 12th mix, sitting in the middle of it. They do have a game in hand on Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton and Newcastle, and 2 games in hand on West Ham. And if things go badly for West Ham, it wouldn't be all that hard to see them potentially even finishing 11th if they have a bad run. But let's focus on United for a second, because what a catastrophic season this has turned out to be. Now, last season they finished 3rd. Ten Hag is hailed as a genius. But those of us that paid attention were looking at A, the signings, and B, the style of play, and saying, this doesn't seem very good. This season, they sit 6th. They're out of the EFL Cup, out of the Champions League in the group stage. They are in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. And in those semi-finals, they will play Coventry. So they do have a very clear path to a cup final. And obviously they won the League Cup and got to the FA Cup final last year. But nobody's all that impressed by the run. They did beat Liverpool. Liverpool gifted them the win. They beat Wigan, Newport and Nottingham Forest. And now they get Coventry. Like, other than the Liverpool game, it's a fairly easy run. But a couple of things that stand out here on the season for Manchester United, because, like, let's be fair, it has been a mess from start to finish, really. In the Premier League, they have lost 12 times. 12 times. They also lost 4 games in their group in the Champions League and to Newcastle. That is 17 defeats this season. 17 defeats is a shocker. An absolute shocker for a team that was put together at such expense. Their goal difference in the league is negative. Their goal difference in the Champions League was negative. Their goal difference in the EFL Cup was 0. And the only reason that they are not sitting with a negative goal difference across the course of the season is that they've had a pretty easy run in the FA Cup. And that has helped them. But overall, they've been atrocious. According to Opta, expected points is basically based on the actions in a game and who should win. You based on statistical analysis. United's expected points would have them in 13th. So when United fans say luck has gone against them, it actually hasn't at all. When United fans moan about injuries, every team has had a lot of injuries. And I saw Mark Goldbridge today saying United have had the most injuries in Premier League history. Nowhere close. They haven't even had the most injuries this season, either in terms of total numbers or days lost. They're not even close. So that's garbage. There's no excuses for the squad because this is now Ten Hag's squad. He spent 400 plus million, and there's not a single player that has arrived at the club under him that you could say has been a success so far, either permanent or loans. Not one player you could look at and say, well, that's a successful signing. There just isn't. Casemiro last season, you could have made a case for certain because he had a really good year last year. This year, he's been an abomination. Martinez is mediocre and he gets injured all the time. Højlund has proven absolutely nothing as yet. 7 Premier League goals. That's the same as Scott McTominay. Anthony's been a disaster. Mount has been a disaster. Onana's been overall very poor. I know he's been a bit better later, but he's still overall been poor. He was the third most expensive goalkeeper in history. There's just no way he's a success. And just on and on. Look at the loans. Amrabat, crap. Reguilon, crap. Sent back in January. The loans last season, all of them crap. Eriksson had flashes, but he just doesn't fit. I don't know what to make of Manchester United. I don't understand them at all. What I do understand, though, is that since the turn of the year, January 1st, 2024, United have played 15 games in all competitions. In the league, they have played Spurs, Wolves, West Ham, Villa, Luton, Fulham, Man City, Everton, Brentford and Chelsea. And in the FA Cup, Wigan, Newport County, Nottingham Forest and Liverpool. 15 games. In 14 of those games, they have allowed 15 or more shots. In 12 of those games, they've allowed 20 or more shots. That is ridiculous. The only team they held below 15 shots was Wigan, which was their first game of this year. Last night, Chelsea had 28 shots. At the weekend, Brentford had 31. Liverpool had 25. Everton had 23. Manchester City had 27. Nottingham Forest in the cup game had 16. Fulham had 17. Luton Town had 22. Aston Villa had 23. West Ham United had 22. Wolves at 16, so my apologies. It's 11, 20 or more. Wolves at 16. Newport County at 17. So it's wrong again. It's 10. It must be 10. We'll just go through the rest of these games. I think it's 10. Spurs at 16, so it's 9. I'm an idiot. I should have looked at that, shouldn't I? It's 9 games over 20, 14 over 15. And the one that they conceded less than 15 shots was Wigan, who had 9 shots. And Wigan are mid-table in League One. But still, 9 games allowing 20 or more shots. I mean, that's completely unacceptable. And, you look, Spurs had more shots than them. They had more shots than Newport. Congrats. Wolves had less shots than them, so they outshot Wolves as well. West Ham had 10 shots more. Aston Villa had 6 shots more. Luton Town had 1 shot more. Fulham had less shots. Nottingham Forest had less shots. Man City had 24 shots more. Everton had 8 shots more. Liverpool had 3 shots less. Brentford had 20 shots more. And Chelsea last night had 9 shots more. And, it's not just since the turn of the year, because they were allowing a lot of shots even before the turn of the year. If we just look at the few games in December, they played Forest. I think, if they limited Forest to 8 shots. They played Villa. Villa had 10. They played West Ham and lost 2-0. West Ham had 12. They played Liverpool. Liverpool had 34 shots to their 6. They played Newcastle at the start of the month, and Newcastle at 22. They just give up so many opportunities. And so many teams outshoot them, which it shouldn't be the case. They look at the attacking talent they have. But they're an absolute mess. The style of football is horrible to watch. Absolutely horrible. Now, there are some promising signs. The goalkeeper is not good. And I'm not going to hear different. He is not good. But I do quite like Delo. I think he's a decent, solid 7 out of 10 most weeks. So you could have him as your right back while you're rebuilding. I don't like any of the centre-backs. Luke Shaw's good. He's never fit. He's played in 12 Premier League games this year. Malacia is not good enough. So realistically, you need 3 starting defenders. Because Lindelof's a good squad player. Maguire, you clearly don't want there and isn't really good enough. Martinez is massively overrated. I think he'd make an okay left back, but he started 7 league games this season. Malacia, I don't think is good enough. Reguilon is gone. Varane is well past his best, and it's time to move him out the door. Like I said, Luke Shaw's injured. Wan-Bissaka is a decent backup, but that's about all. And I'm not really sure how Johnny Evans is making 12 Premier League starts for you and 19 total appearances. I do quite like the look of young Kambwala. I think he looks decent. But 3 starting defenders is what you need. You need a starting defensive midfielder. I think you need a backup defensive midfielder, and to send Casemiro as far away as possible. I'd be buying another starting midfielder and having Mainu as a rotation option for now because he's so young, but buy someone that bit older and then have Mainu just, in rotation playing 2 out of every 3 games, or like a game and a half, a 60 here, a 90 there, a 30 there, whatever, but don't overplay him. So you need 2 in midfield, at least. I would say 3, but you go get 2. So that's 5 starters and a goalkeeper. So 6 starters. I really do like the front 4. Garnacho, Bruno, Rashford, and Højlund. but I'd still be making changes to the depth. I mean, I'd be selling Anthony. I would try and bring back Sancho, but I'm not sure he'd be all that interested. I do like Mason Mount as a footballer, but paid 65 million for him. I like Ahmed Diallo. I think he shows a lot of promise. So, Ahmed, Mount and Sancho as your backups there, that's pretty good. And it's, while Garnacho and Rashford are pacey players, Ahmed and Sancho are more finesse players. And then you need a backup striker for certain. So that's one there, two, maybe three in midfield. So let's just say two. So that's three, two of which are starters, three starting defenders. That's six total players and a goalkeeper. You need 7 players. You spend all this money and you need 7 players. In fact, you need more than that because you need some backup defenders as well. You've got Shaw as a backup left back. I mean, I suppose you could keep Martinez as a backup centre back, even though I'd never allow him to play centre back. I keep Lindelof. I'd want one more backup centre back. Yeah, like that's 8. 8 at least, maybe 9. It's just not good. Not good at all. And this manager can't be trusted to spend the money either. So, what are you going to do? I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I'll do the news and gossip quickly. Then we'll take another quick break and then we'll bring in Guy. So I'll see you after this. Right. Welcome back. So today is April 5th, 2024. And that marks the 24th anniversary of the passing of Kevin Spieth and Christopher Loftus, 2 Leeds fans who went to Turkey to watch their team play Galatasaray in a UEFA Cup semi-final first leg. And the night before that game, which would have taken place on the 6th, or did take place on the 6th, the 2 men were attacked and murdered. And no football fan should ever go to a game fearing that they won't return home or return home in the same way they left their house. We recently saw a video of Sean Cox meeting Jurgen Klopp, and Sean, of course, was attacked by Roma fans before Liverpool played Roma in the Champions League semi-final a couple of years ago. And he has never been the same. But at least his family get to say good morning and good night to him. Kevin Spieth and Christopher Loftus, their families never got to see them again. And I just think it's important to remember them, remember that what happened to them was both tragic and despicable, and to keep the memories alive. Galatasaray fans, I hope, feel shame for what members of their support did on that night. There is an exceptional story on the BBC website entitled 2 Brothers, 1 Club and a 40-Year Wait, written by Alex Bysouth, about Inaki and Nico Williams. And I urge everybody to read that. It is genuinely a tremendous story. Ahead of the Copa del Rey final, which takes place tomorrow night at 9 p.m, Athletic Club against Mallorca. Athletic Club looking for their first real silverware, their first major silverware in 40 years. And it would be incredible, especially for Inaki Williams, who's been there so long and played so much for that club and turned down moves to bigger clubs, clubs with more prestige, to stay there and fight the good fight, quite frankly. Iker Muniain, another legend at the club, now club captain. He's another that turned down big, exciting moves to stay loyal. There's something very special about Athletic Club. And while I've nothing against Mallorca at all, I really want to see that trophy head home to Bilbao. When you look at some of the players like Yeri Alvarez, like Ander Herrera, who's found his way back there. Like, there's a connection that those players have to that club. Obviously, the Basque roots and the strict policy of playing only Basque players makes it very special. And I'm very hopeful that they can win major silverware for the first time since they won the league and Copa del Rey double in 83, 84. I know they did win the Super Copa twice, but that's not a major tournament. This would be huge for them. And they're having a good league season as well. I would also urge everybody who's looking for games to watch this weekend, if you don't fancy watching Premier League and you're waiting for something to watch before that game, Sporting against Benfica kicks off at 8:30, so you could watch the first half hour. I might watch the first half and then switch over, but I'm going to wait and see, because if Sporting are winning, I might stick with that and then switch over and watch the second half of the Copa del Rey. We'll go through the Premier League games with Guy in a couple of minutes. What other good games are there this weekend? Let's look. So Porto versus Vitória is the late game on Sunday night in Portugal. That one could be decent. In La Liga this weekend, we don't have any games because it's the Copa del Rey final. So we don't have any La Liga games this weekend. In France, Lille against Marseille is tonight. That could be decent. That is 4th versus 7th, but only 7 points between them. And that's pretty much it. Monaco versus Rennes could be a good game. That's 4:05 on Sunday. In Serie A, we have Salernitana Sassuolo today. That's a game at the bottom of the table. A huge game for Sassuolo. Salernitana are pretty much gone, but it would be a huge win for Sassuolo. We've Udinese versus Inter. Juve versus Fiorentina could be decent, but the big game is Roma versus Lazio. If you don't want to watch Arsenal-Brighton, the Rome derby is 5 p.m. tomorrow. In the Bundesliga, Eintracht Frankfurt versus Werder Bremen tonight. Dortmund-Stuttgart is a big one. That is 4th against 3rd. Leverkusen take on Union Berlin, who are somewhat resurgent, looking to maintain their 13-point lead. Bayern would be expected to go to Heidenheim and win, but they've been expected to do a lot of things and haven't done them this year. But Leverkusen should come out of the weekend with the same type of advantage. But I do think the biggest game taking place this weekend is taking place in... Excuse me, I've just hit the wrong button. It's taking place in Scotland. And that is Sunday, a noon kickoff. So you can watch it before the Premier League games. Rangers home to Celtic. Rangers are 1 point behind Celtic. They played Dundee on Wednesday night in that makeup game. Dundee currently sits 6th. Rangers would be expected to win, though it is in Dundee, so it won't be too easy. But if Rangers can win this game against Celtic and then beat Dundee, they will be 5 points clear. And very, very close to winning a league title. Next weekend marks the last of the normal season, and it breaks up into the title and relegation thing. But this weekend is huge. It's absolutely huge. Celtic have to win. If they don't win, I fear the title is gone. Gossip then. Liverpool have opened talks with Ruben Amorim to replace Jurgen Klopp. Barcelona have withdrawn their interest in Amorim. I believe they've withdrawn their interest because there's been more than talks between Liverpool and Amorim. Manchester United have added Max Kilman and Ezri Konsa to their shortlist of summer targets. João Felix says Bernardo Silva wants to move to Barcelona. I think everybody's known that for a couple of years. Atalanta say they've not had any direct contact with Liverpool about Tejan Koopmeiners. That's because Liverpool aren't interested in Tejan Koopmeiners. Liverpool want to sign Federico Valverde from Real Madrid. You've no idea how much I would love that to happen. Even though I don't think it's the perfect fit. I do still think him and Alexis together in a double pivot would be pretty sensational. Joshua Zirkzee is wanted by Manchester United and Liverpool. Arsenal are set to rival Manchester United for the signing of Barcelona's 19-year-old Senegal centre-back, Mikhail Faye. Manchester United have offered a new deal to 16-year-old English winger Bendito Mantato amid interest from several top clubs. You would imagine either United or the player's agent paid Fabrizio Romano handsomely for that story. Fulham manager Marco Silva, who has a release clause of 8.6 million, could attract interest from West Ham. That's interesting. Premier League clubs are pushing to scrap points deductions in favour of a luxury tax system. That's an awful idea. A genuinely awful idea. English actress Dame Helen Mirren says she supports Lecce. Okay. Spain forward Ansu Fati faces an uncertain summer at Barcelona following a disappointing loan at Brighton. Could be sent out on loan again or sold. And finally, AC Milan have identified Damian Comoli, former Liverpool director of football, as the leading candidate to become their chief executive. Damian Comoli is one of the best examples ever of routinely failing up. Genuinely. Just everything seems to work out for him. Like, he was director of football at Spurs. He failed. He got basically the keys to the kingdom at St. Etienne. He was an absolute disaster there. Then somehow he got the director of football job at Liverpool. He failed there. He got sacked, was out of football for a while, and then he gets the top job at Toulouse. Now, he's done okay, but certainly not good enough to warrant getting the AC Milan job. Madness. Right, back after this with young Drinkle. See you in a sec. Right, welcome back. So, we are joined as always on a Friday afternoon by Guy Drinkle. How are you, sir?
16 degrees, Dave.
16 degrees. The weather has gotten better since I was talking to you earlier. It is 14 degrees here. My phone says it's raining, but I'm looking out the window and it definitely isn't. But it probably will. So, you know. Look, it could be worse. It could be worse. At least it's meant to be warm overnight. So for old people like myself, that's what really matters. We're top of the league again, Guy.
Let's not jinx it. We know we're playing at the weekend.
We do indeed, and we will almost certainly drop off top of the league this weekend. In the interim, anyway, because obviously City and Arsenal both play on Saturday, whereas Liverpool play Sunday. So let's get started with this week's Premier League games.
Yeah, and we do kick off with one of the title-chasing trio, and that is Man City, who are going to Crystal Palace, Dave, and in previous seasons, and I think even last season, they dropped points in this fixture. But Palace this season, obviously, bit of a turmoil-filled season, so many injuries, new managers, not done too badly, but just missing so many key players. Some January recruits have done quite well. I think the right wing-back's done quite well. I think Wharton's done quite well in midfield, but they are just missing that core spine of players who've just been injured for months and months now.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Wehi's the best defensive player at the club. Czech Doucouré is their best midfield player. You take them two out, you add Elise missing huge chunks of the season. Eze's back, but he's missed games. That's very, very tough to overcome. Like, they have 5 players that you would look at and say, you could put them into most Premier League teams. Guehi, Anderson, Doucouré, Olise, and Eze. And 4 of them have missed considerable time. Doucouré has missed, well, half the season at least. Olise's missed half the season at least. And Guehi's been out for a while. So that's very tough. And like you said, there's been turmoil, the change in manager. I do really like the managerial appointment, but it was a tough thing to walk into because when he took over, all 4 were out injured. He only really had Anderson of the players you'd look at and say, well, he could step up to a higher level. And this is going to be a tough one. Now, they did take points off City earlier this season as well, up at the Etihad, but they weren't missing as many players. This weekend, no Sam Johnston, no Czech Doucouré, no Rob Holding, no Guehi, no Chris Richards, which has gone under the radar as well, that he's been out because he'd be the natural one to step in for Guehi. Odson Edouard not back yet. Now, they're saying Michael Olise is okay to play 15 to 20 minutes. So that's positive. But for me, given he came back the last time a bit too quick and got hurt again quite quickly, I'd be inclined to leave him just another week and let him just get another week of training under his belt. No Rak-Saki and no Matthias Franke. City got good news on the injury front with Ederson looking like he's back, but they will have no Kyle Walker and no Nathan Aki. And Walker, I think, is set to miss the Real game. Aki will also miss that and will probably miss next weekend too. And that's a blow because Nathan Aki's been really good for them over the past 18 months. In terms of form, last 10 games, City are 3rd and Palace are 15th. Palace's home form has been pretty good. They're 9th over the last 6 home games, 3 wins, 2 draws. City's away form, though, is the best in the league, 5 wins and a draw. City need to win because they will expect both Arsenal and Liverpool to win. Because I think at this point, they'll know that it's basically a cup final every single time you play a Premier League game from now to the end of the year. City have incredible experience in this situation. Like, if we think back to the 18-19 Premier League season and Liverpool chasing them all the way for the title, if we look back at their end of season results, just incredible. They lost to Newcastle on the 29th of January. And then they went and won every single game after that. And needed to win every single game after that to hold on to the league title. That was 14 wins in a row. They actually won 18 of 19 to win the league and pip Liverpool by a point. We move forward to the 21-22 season. Again, Liverpool chasing them. They, to be fair, had a big lead from the middle of the season, but when they needed to win games, they were able to pull out wins. Most notably that Aston Villa game at the end of that season. But they lose to Spurs on the 19th of February, and they don't lose again. That was one of only 3 defeats that season. The first was the opening day. They lost to Palace, funnily enough, in the October that season at home, and then they drew with Palace away. So like you said, they have had some struggles at Selhurst Park, but they're so consistent and so good when it gets to this point of the year. And then last year, obviously, again, they're competing with Arsenal. They lose on the 5th of February, and they don't lose again until the final day when they had the season wrapped up. They had the title wrapped up, rather. After beating Villa on the 12th of February, they went 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 games unbeaten with 14 wins in there. Like, that's really, really impressive. So when it comes to the crunch, City are a team that just know how to win these games. I'm going to back them to win the game. But I think it won't be easy. Like, they're not going to go there and wallop Palace, I don't think. But I'll go 2-0 to City.
Yeah, you just kind of depressed me there.
But this year is different because Liverpool have the advantage on them this year, which they didn't have in 18-19 or 21-22. Liverpool were chasing them in those seasons.
And there's a third wheel.
And there's the Arsenal factor as well, yeah.
We can only hope. But yeah, that should be a tight, interesting game, you'd say. Moving on to the 3 o'clock kickoffs, then. Starting off, we have Villa hosting Brentford, Dave. Brentford, back-to-back draws. The Brighton game, I chose to watch because the other 2 games, I don't want to watch my title rivals just winning comfortably, was awful. And somehow they didn't beat Man United. So perhaps a little bit of a turnaround, but they definitely still need to pick up a win, maybe 2, probably 2. And then you can say they're safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think around 33, 34 points absolutely keeps you safe this year. Like, Luton are on 22. I don't even see them getting to that. But just to be secure, just to not go into the final day worried, I think it's, that's kind of the aim you've got to get to. Like you said, they should have beaten United. They absolutely dominated them. They defended well against Brighton, which was a positive for them because defensively they've been quite poor this year. They've had a lot of injuries. If we look at the injuries this weekend, no Josh Da Silva, no Rico Henry, no Ben Mee, no Aaron Hickey. Ethan Pinnock probably a week away. Christian Norgard probably a week away. Kevin Schade, they're hoping, could be back for the bench. Now, he's missed most of the season, which has been a shame because he actually started the season looking lively. And he was a big money signing for them, so they need to get him back. But this is a really tough game. Like, Villa are just a very good side. No Boubacar Kamara, no Emi Buendia, no Tyron Mings, no Jacob Ramsey, no Matty Cash. Emi Martinez should be fine. Zaniolo, I think, is going to be okay. McGinn is back from suspension. Ollie Watkins is touch and go. I'm guessing they might hold him off. Just with Europe, they might hold him off this weekend.
And Duran scored a couple, hasn't he?
Duran has scored a couple, and he looks lively, and he's definitely got something about him, and he can strike a ball like anybody's business. Form-wise, last 10, Villa are 8, which is worse than you would think. 5 wins, a draw, 4 defeats. But Brentford are 18th, 1 win and 3 draws. Villa's home form, again, worse than you would think. 3 wins, 3 defeats, 13th. But Brentford's away form is 16th, 1 win and 5 defeats. I'm going to go the Villa win. I just think they'll have too much for Brentford overall. We'll go 3-1.
Yeah, and they want to keep that gap to Spurs because, to be fair, Spurs do have... Nope, I thought they were playing West Ham for some reason. They have Nottingham Forest. They should win that game, but we'll come on to that. But they do have to keep that gap up with Tottenham. I know Tottenham have a game in hand, but, well, it is Spurs. They'll slip up at some point, and I think they have some difficult games ahead. So, yeah, top 4 race is interesting. Relegation 6-point time, Dave. Here we are. Everton hosting Burnley. Everton can't win games. I think, is it 13? 14 games they've not won in now. And Burnley, they've definitely improved, but I don't know how big the improvement is. And it just seems to stem from bringing Muric back in. Is it that simple?
It seems to be. It does seem to be. They've stopped conceding as many goals. Yeah, they just look a better team right now. So Everton haven't won in the league since the 16th of December. Funnily enough, at Burnley. So in that time, they've taken a sum total of 6 points. They've gotten 6 draws and 7 defeats. Their last win in all competitions was a 1-0 win over Crystal Palace in a 3rd round replay in the FA Cup. They then lost at home to Luton in the next round. It has been a shambolic season. if not for the 4 wins in a row that came after the initial points deduction, like they would be sitting very cheerfully at the bottom of the table.
It's not been pretty.
It's not been pretty. The football is horrible. Defensively, they've been okay. They can't score any goals. There's no real creativity in the team. McNeil and Harrison, they're both good crosses of the ball, but there's nobody that can really split the defence with a pass. There's nobody that carries the ball and dribbles at a good level. Danjuma can do that stuff. He's been injured and he doesn't seem to be in favour with the manager, though. Everton, no Dele Alli. I wouldn't say we'll see him again this year. Lewis Dobbin is out. Danjuma is out. But Onana should be okay, which is big for them. Burnley, no Aaron Ramsey. No Nathan Redmond. No Kolioshu. No Jordan Bayer. Likely no Al-Dakhil. But Assignon is back from suspension. And he looks pretty decent, to be fair to him. I'll just back Everton to win, I think. If we look at the form table, last 10, Everton 17th, Burnley 16th. Home form, Everton 16th. Away form, Burnley 19th. Like, it does reek of a draw, but I'm just going to back Everton to win 2-1. At some point, they have to win a game. I'm just going to back them to win 2-1.
Where do you think Everton sit in the XG table?
Oh, interesting. 19th?
Got one of the numbers right. They are 9th.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that does surprise me. I'm genuinely stunned by that because they've been dreadful, but I'm looking at the same table you're looking at. And like, they're ahead of some teams that play some good football in Brighton and Bournemouth. They're ahead of West Ham. Sheffield United I expected to be bottom, but I did think Everton would be down there. Everton have underperformed their XG by 20.58 goals. That is stunning. Like, Chelsea have underperformed theirs by almost 9. Brentford by 10. Well, 10.6. And they're the next two biggest. And Everton are a full 10 goals worse than them. Now, they are outperforming their XG against with 5.89, which is Liverpool are top, then Spurs. United are top, then Liverpool, then Spurs. Oh, and Luton as well, actually. Luton should have conceded 75 goals this year based on XG. And Sheffield United should only have conceded 68, which is just shocking for both sides.
It's difference of goalkeepers, to be fair.
It is, literally. Absolutely. Like, if you look at the expected points, Everton are, again, 9th on the season. Now, if they were given back their full complement of points that they had deducted, they would currently be sitting in 14th. So even at that, they've underperformed.
They may need a new striker. That's what we'll take from that.
Yeah, I think so. I do think so. Anyway, yeah, I'll just go for the Everton win 2-1.
Yep, I can see that. Where are we next? We have Fulham hosting Newcastle. Fulham continue to be the weirdest team in the world, who are either brilliant or awful. No middle ground. They are hosting Newcastle, Dave, who just love injuries. Just love them. And don't love consistency either. Even when they win, it's against West Ham, who just imploded. Two of the weirdest teams in the league this season.
There's so many weird teams in this division. Like, I think everybody outside the top 5 really are weird in one way or another. Like, United are bizarre. West Ham are bizarre. The Toon are weird. Brighton are a little weird. Chelsea are just all over the place. Wolves, to be fair, are kind of consistent, as are Bournemouth. Fulham are weird. Palace are dull. Brentford are weird. They feel like they should be a lot better. Everton are, God knows. Forest are really weird. Like, it's just a weird league this year. It has been for the last few years. I think everybody got COVID and lost their minds. Injury-wise, Fulham have no injuries at all. Toon have loads of injuries. So deep breath now. Sven Botman, Jamal Lascelles, Sandro Tonali, Lewis Miley, Callum Wilson, Joelinton, Livramento, Almiron, Pope, and Trippier all out. Anthony Gordon is back. Lewis Hall should be okay. And Matt Targett is a major doubt. So 10 lads ruled out through injury. That's atrocious. And I saw something the other day that when Howe was at Bournemouth, they had atrocious injuries as well. So it's clearly an Eddie Howe thing rather than just bad luck. Form table. Last 10 games, Fulham are 9th and Newcastle are 10th. Home form, Fulham are actually 5th, 4 wins and a draw. Away form, Newcastle are 11th, 2 wins and 4 defeats. So I'm going to go for the Fulham win. They've got everybody fit. They're pretty good at home. I'm just going to go for the Fulham win. I'll go 2-1 again.
That's too tame for Fulham. That it's going to be 4-all. That's what it's going to be. Next up, we have a game that was only played just recently, and it was mental back then, or mad. I think mental is not the right word anymore, is it? We'll go with mad. Luton hosting Bournemouth, Dave, 4-3 a couple of weeks ago. It feels like last chance saloon is maybe too strong for Luton so far, but we mentioned it there. Burnley at least trying to show something now, whereas Luton, again, they've got a million injuries. But you do have to be beating sides like Bournemouth, who are now basically safe. Maybe not on the beach just yet, but we're not far away from it. They need to be beating teams like Bournemouth if they are to catch up Forest and Everton.
Oh, 100%. And like Bournemouth have 41 points. Like that's more than they stayed up with last year. They're absolutely a Premier League team for next year. And maybe some complacency does slip in there because they know that they're secure. Luton have very few chances left. But this weekend is a chance to catch Forest on points, if not on goal difference, because like you said earlier, Forest go to Spurs on Sunday, which is really tough. So Luton can get level with them. If Everton were to lose, they'd only be a point behind them. They'd only be 3 points behind Brentford, potentially. So they'd be right back in the mix. But there's just so many injuries, and they've got a small enough squad to begin with. So no Tom Lockyer, no Nakamba, no Brown, no Potts, no Bell, no Adebayo, no Sambi Lakonga, no Mads Anderson, no Osho, no Ogbena, and Reece Burke is a doubt. That is tough when you've got such a small squad. And you're facing an informed Bournemouth team who are missing Fredericks, who wouldn't play. Sinistera is a blow. Sinisi's a doubt, but Lloyd Kelly's playing pretty well. And Chris Meffam should be okay to play. Form-wise, last 10, Bournemouth are up to 7th again, whereas Luton are 20th. They haven't won any of their last 10 games. Home form, Luton are 19th with 1 win and a draw. Away form, Bournemouth are 7th with 2 wins and 2 draws. It's hard to back Luton missing that many players with Bournemouth in the form that they're in. So I'm just going to go Bournemouth to win. But I think it could be an exciting one again. So I'll go 3-2 to Bournemouth.
Yeah, there'll definitely be goals in it, you reckon? Maybe less so in this next one with Wolves hosting West Ham. We went over Wolves' injuries last Friday. They're all in the attack, but I think Cunha came on midweek, if I remember correctly. And West Ham, I mean, I know they scored 3 against Newcastle, but some of the chances they missed, dear me, if they're not falling to Bowen, I mean, that Antonio miss may stay in the memory quite long if you're a West Ham fan. But what do you make of this one?
West Ham are just so confusing. They're just so confusing because there's lots of talent in some areas and then they're garbage in others. Like they're seventh, and that's pretty good, but then they've got a -5 goal differential. They've conceded 55 goals. It's the most in the top half. And in fact, you have to go all the way down to Brentford to find someone that's conceded as many as them. Both Everton and Forest have conceded less than them. So you've only actually got the bottom three have conceded more goals this year than West Ham.
For a David Moyes team.
For a David Moyes team, that's just really, really weird. And then in the top half, only United have scored less goals than them. Like, that's not overly surprising because, again, a David Moyes team. But to have conceded the joint fourth most goals in the league, along with Brentford, who are still in a relegation scrap, is just so strange. And, when we look at the XG against, it's a bit bizarre because their XG against, they're actually overperforming it. Understat reckons they should be conceding 59 goals to date this season.
I was going to say, he's had a few nightmares, but he seems to be keeping them in games at times.
Yeah, and they're also overperforming their actual XG by 5 goals. So they should be 10 goals worse off. And if we look at the expected points table, it has them, unsurprisingly, 7th from bottom in 14th position, just below Manchester United, ahead of Fulham, Crystal Palace, and Wolves, which is the mad one, that they're overperforming by so much.
You can kind of see why a loud majority wants Moyes replaced.
Yeah,
to be fair.
Yeah. He won them a trophy last year. I was delighted for him to finally win a major trophy. But the football's not good enough. He's not getting the best out of his players. And he shows far too much favoritism towards certain individuals. Now, last 10 games, Wolves are 11th, West Ham are 13th. Home form, Wolves are 8th. Away form, West Ham are 9th. This one reeks of a draw. I'm going to go the draw. I'm looking at the injuries. No Areola, but Alvarez is back and Agard could be back. No Neto, but Hwang and Craig Dawson should be back. Oh, no Bellegarde either. I'm just going to go the draw. I'm going to go 1-1, and I don't think it's going to be a particularly good game.
Mind, we said that all last weekend, and they were all mental.
I know. I'm hoping I'll get this. Yeah. This will be a good game because none of the other 3 p.m. stand out to me that I'd want to watch. But I do want to watch this purely because Matheus Cunha is playing, and so I'm hoping I reverse jinx it into a madness.
Yep, you're welcome for last weekend, everyone. On to the televised game at 5:30 then, Dave. Brighton hosting Arsenal. This seems like maybe one of the first tests for Arsenal in the title running, because Brighton, we know the history with Arsenal there. We know the Basuma laughing, Mope, S-housery. So it's not a historic fixture, but it's a tight, tense fixture at times. And I think Brighton unbeaten in 12, I think I read this morning, at home. So it's one of the tougher tests left for Arsenal.
Yeah, Brighton are pretty good at home. Now, they're 7 in the form table, 3 wins, 3 draws. And in the away form table, Arsenal are 3rd. Over the last 10 games, Arsenal are 1st and Brighton are only 12th. But that's Brighton's away form has hurt them. Injury-wise, no Solly March, no Jack Hinchelwood, no Matoma, no Billy Gilmore. Evan Ferguson's a doubt and no Milner, but that's fine. For Arsenal, no Jurriën Timber. Bukayo Saka is expected to be fit, which I think everybody expected anyway. I think this is a big test for Arsenal. I think this is a really tough game. Brighton gave Liverpool a real tough game last weekend, and they haven't been home in a while. This is their first home game in the Premier League, I think, since the 10th of March.
Oh dear.
Yeah, they were away to Liverpool after the international break, then they were away to Brentford. This is their first home game in basically a month. I think they'll be well up for this. And I'm going to back them to get a draw. I'm going to go 2-2. I think they've got the type of attackers with João Pedro fit, with Enciso fit, with Adingra playing well, with Baliba starting to play well in midfield, Pascal Gross playing well. I think they can open that Arsenal defence up. Now, they are suspect at the back. Lewis Dunk is not playing well, but Estupiñán is showing good form again. Verbruggen seems to have been given the goalkeeping job full time. Hopefully De Zerbi sticks with that. Van Hecke is playing pretty well. Veltman's playing okay when he's in at right back. So I'm going to go for 2-2. I think this is a banana skin that Arsenal will step on. 2-2.
Yeah, you mentioned, I think in the intro part, that you're obviously European football, with the City part, I should say, with them playing Real Madrid next week. I'm guessing Arsenal play Bayern in the same midweek?
They do indeed, yeah. Arsenal have Bayern coming up. So Arsenal will have one eye on that game without question. And it's the home game as well. So it's the one with the more pressure on it. The one they've got to win against Bayern. And it's a Tuesday night game. So I do wonder if maybe one or two players get rested for that one.
Do you hold back Saka, for instance, if he is...
Do you hold back Saka? Do you maybe hold back Martinelli? Do you maybe rest Ben White at right back and play Tomiyasu, who could be out of rhythm? So, yeah, I mean, that's a big factor here for Arsenal that they have to take into consideration. And it's tough games for them the next 7. Like Brighton, Bayern, Villa at home, Bayern away, Wolves away, Chelsea won't be easy, and then Spurs away. Like their April is very, very tough. The one easy game they had was Luton. The rest are very, very tough.
And if they get through in the Champions League, it's Real Madrid or Man City.
It's Real Madrid or Man City, yeah. And isn't the first leg of that also in April?
I think so.
I'm pretty certain it is. So, that's a really, really tough run. And I don't think they have the minerals for it. So I'm going 2-2 here.
Well, whilst we're on the subject, if you were Arsenal, would you rather not been off the Champions League, but if you were put your chances up, say, 10% in the Premier League and you lost to Bayern, would you do that trade? Or do you think they're more likely to win the Champions League?
Oh, that's tough. I think I would prioritize the Premier League. The problem with the Premier League for them is it's not in their hands. Like, they could win their remaining 8 games and still finish second. And that's a real possibility because Liverpool are absolutely capable of winning the next 8 games. And in the Champions League, it's not just Bayern. You've got, like you said, you've got Real or City. And you could get to the final and play Inter Milan. And I think Inzaghi...
No, you can't.
You can't play Inter Milan. Sorry. You can play Atletico Madrid. You could play Atletico Madrid. And I think Simeone would coach rings around Mikel Arteta. So, I would prioritize the Premier League. I would. And hope that Liverpool slip up and just try and win out. And if Arsenal win the remaining 8 games, they will deserve to win the Premier League because that is a hellish run, including United away in their second last game. Bournemouth, United and Everton are their last 3. Bournemouth at home. Bournemouth should be on the beach by then. Everton, in all likelihood, will be safe before the final day unless they get a second points deduction, which knocks them in and maybe just knocks the stuffing out of them. But United away will be tough. United would love nothing more than to spoil the party. But if they do win out, they'll deserve it. But I probably would prioritise the Premier League. If you told me I could get to the final 3 games and I was top and all I had to do was win the last 3, I'd happily take that and bin off the Champions League right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Arsenal we've seen it in the past. Your first step back in the Champions League is never the easiest, and you got to a quarter-final, going out to a Bayern, not the best Bayern side, obviously, but you can always expel them demons in the future. Moving on to Sunday with the most random of times. I think it's for train strikes, which is fair enough, but it is random. We have United hosting Liverpool at 3:30. I think that one's for policing rather than strikes, because police don't want to work an hour later for some reason. Again, simply
it's
Liverpool
to have the fans an hour less in the pub beforehand. Is what it is.
Yeah, because that'll make a huge difference.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Just you just drink more, more in the 4 hours you have than you would in the 5 hours you normally have.
Well, what do you make of this one?
Last 10 games, Liverpool are second, 8 wins and a draw. 1 defeat, that was away to Arsenal, missing a bunch of players. United are 6th, 5 wins, 2 draws, 3 defeats. United's home form is 11th over their last 6 home games. Liverpool's away form is 2nd, behind only City, 5 wins and that 1 defeat to Arsenal. Injury-wise, Liverpool, they're coping with injuries. They've got Matip and Thiago done for the year. Besetic, I don't expect to see. Alexander-Arnold, Alisson and Jota a week or so away. Endo should be good to go. But that's nothing in comparison to United. No Shaw, no Martinez, no Lindelof, no Malacia. Very unlikely to have Johnny Evans. Very unlikely to have Rafael Varane. Very unlikely to have Casemiro. No Martial. Binder should be okay. So that's the backup goalkeeper, should be fine. But that's a lot of defenders out. That leaves you with basically 4 defenders fit. Wan-Bissaka and Dalot as fullbacks. Maguire and Kambwala as centre-backs. And if any of them get hurt, you're probably having to put Scott McTominay in at centre-back. The bigger issue with that is that if Casemiro is out, surely Scott McTominay has to start in midfield. So if he ends up having to go to centre-back, now what do you do in midfield? Do you put Mason Mount in with Kobe Mainoo? That doesn't seem good.
Amrabat's been horrendous.
Amrabat has been atrocious. I think he's absolutely unplayable at the moment. I genuinely do. I think he's unplayable. So United are in a bad place. But look, we were talking about expected points earlier. Nobody in the league is overperforming their expected points more than United, who should be sitting in 13th. They are underperforming their XG by 5, but they are overperforming their XG against by nearly 13, which is a combination of bad finishing and some decent work from Onana at times. This United team are not good. They got slapped around at Anfield and should have lost, but got out of there with a draw. Liverpool outplayed them and dominated them for large stretches in the cup game and then threw it away, and United beat them 4-3. So United have shown that they can get results against Liverpool. But as I said earlier, in their 14 games since the turn of the year, they've allowed 15 or more shots in 13 of them, or is it 15 games in 14? Either way, the only game they haven't allowed 15 or more shots in since the turn of the year is Wigan in the Cup. And 9 teams have had more than 20 shots. Like, they are allowing an awful lot of opportunities for the opposition. And if that happens against Liverpool, I think they're getting turned over. I'm going 3-1 to Liverpool.
I'd very much like that. Yeah, and if you want a full, half an hour, if you're on the free side, go listen to the half an hour you get over on AI for the full preview. Moving on then, Dave. Now, we discovered last week Chelsea can't have two good results in a row, but it's Sheffield United. But it was Burnley last weekend who got a draw. So which pattern are you taking?
It's at Bramall Lane. Chelsea are sixth in the away form table. Sheffield United are dead bottom of the home form table. Chelsea are actually fifth in the last 10 games, and Sheffield United are 19th. Both sides are fairly decimated with injuries. Sheffield United, no Max Lowe, no Norrington Davies, no Basham, no Egan, no Baldock, no Davies, no Gus Hammer might be okay. Cameron Archer's back, though, so that's big. Ryan Brewster and Daniel Jebison obviously out as well. For Chelsea, no Fofana, no Lavia, no James, no Nkunku, no Colwill. Chilwell might be back. I have doubts. Sanchez, I think, is back in training, but, I mean, he's not going to start anyway. And Ogochukwu is out. I'm just going to go with the Chelsea win because Sheffield United are really poor. And I think they might have burnt themselves out. Oh, well, to be fair, Chelsea had to go right to the end last night as well. I'll go Chelsea to win 2-1, riding a high from last night. I think Cole Palmer scores again, and maybe Raheem Sterling nabs one. So I'll go 2-1 to Chelsea.
We roll with a 2-2. That's where we go, back to back. That one's not on TV, but that is
unsurprisingly.
Yes. But that's 5:30 kickoff if you are desperate to watch that game for whatever reason. Second televised game. This kicks off at 6 o'clock UK time, obviously. Spurs hosting Forest, which we kind of mentioned earlier. You mentioned it. Forest are a weird team. Spurs are a weird team. Like, I know they're in decentish form, but draw against West Ham, a 3-0 loss to Fulham, they still have these weird results with basically high-risk, high-reward football that you'll obviously know as a Celtic fan, but Tottenham's very different to a Celtic in the SPFL.
They're mental. Yeah, you're right. They are nuts. I mean, you look at some of the results. Like, they go to Villa Park and absolutely wipe the floor with Aston Villa. Like, destroy them 4-0. And then 6 days later, they go to Fulham and lose 3-0. They struggle to beat Luton. They draw with West Ham. They just don't make sense at all. But this is a huge game that they have to win because you would expect Villa to beat Brentford tomorrow and open that gap back to 5 points. Now, Spurs would have 2 games in hand. One of them is against Chelsea. One of them is obviously this game. So they need to win this game because the Chelsea one won't be easy because it's at the Bridge as far as I can remember. Yeah, it is at the Bridge. It's tough. It is very tough. Last 10 games, Spurs are 4th. Forest are 14th. Home form, Spurs are 3rd. Away form, Forest are actually 12th, which isn't bad. Injury-wise, for Forest, no Awoniyi, no Nuno Tavares, and no Willy Bolly. For Spurs, no Fraser Forster, no Ryan Sessegnon, no Manor Solomon. Brennan Johnson's fine, apparently, but Richarlison is set to miss out. I'm just going to go with the Spurs win, but I think Forest will trouble them. I think that trio of Elanga, Gibbs White, and Hudson-Odoi are really starting to click. I'll go 3-1 to Spurs, but I wouldn't be surprised if this game is 1-1 for quite a while, and then Spurs get a second, and Forest open up, and Spurs catch them on the counter or something like that. I'll go 3-1 to Spurs.
Yeah, I can definitely see goals in that one. But that was our last game.
Yeah, so that is it. That is us for the week. We will be back next week So until then, take care of yourselves. Thank you to Guy. Thank you to you for listening. And as he said, go and subscribe to Anfield Index Pro. Even if you're not a Liverpool fan, just do it anyway to be sound. Bye-bye.
Social Podcast Network.